Vorax Battle Automata. Well, we're back to Automata as it happened again. Less sigh. Welcome, gentle listener. I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and units of the Warhammer 40k setting. The grim darkness of the far future, where there is no time for peace. There is only time for war. If you wish to see the channel flourish, then like and subscribe. Do share your thoughts in the comments. I do read many, although I do not react to them all. Sorry. Time. But also consider joining our Patreon or throwing a one-off tip in the form of a super thanks, if I have indeed earned your bounty. And today, we are to look at one of my favourite wee robots of wrath, the Vorax Battle Automata. Now I'm still getting back on the horse after a rare break of 4 days, so I'm writing tales for the Friday entry, so do bear with me this once. I have no intention of moving away from storytelling, but after so many, it can be challenging to provide something new. So let's just discuss this unit. I promise it is worth your while. The Vorax. A tricky bugger in many regards, but well worth the investment in strategic points to have in your army. But, as with all of the battle automata, it can be a two-edged sword. But, let us go into the pedigree before we get to my discussion. The Vorax is truly a product of its environment, for it heralds from the Red Planet the birthplace and home of the Mechanicum, later dubbed the Adeptus Mechanicus. It is perfectly designed for its ghoulish task as a hunter-killer of superlative capability. It is presumed to have been taken from an STC, or standard template construct, heralding all the way back to the dark age of technology. And it is unlike so many of its cousins, as it is no lumbering hulk festooned with weaponry designed to topple titans or terrors. Well, to say it is not well armed is a bit of a perversion of the truth, but what is fact is that these wee monsters were not designed for ranked massed combats, as so much of the Mechanicum arsenal projects. No, this tiny terror was constructed for one task, and one task alone. A hunter, assassin, and sweeper away of skirmish troops, or disorganized adversary infantry, and it is eminently capable of doing so. Able to operate alone or in a pack of usually 5, but more are possible. But that is not advisable, as we shall see anon. The Vorax was constructed of the usual hyperdense materials of the automata, but its bulk is severely cut down, and its limbs are lithe and functionary. This leads it to be far faster than most of its ilk. Able to run at a pace that prevents any normal human from escape, it is also nimble and able to dodge as much firepower as possible. Yet, when you gain a direct hit on this monster, it has many a defense to defray true damage. Its armor is good, as stated, but it also has an atomantic deflector. Now these are usually only seen on the far larger automata and some advanced dreadnoughts like the Leviathan. Of course, this level of technology was abundant during the Age of Darkness, the rebellion of the War Master. Yet it is not to be sniffed at whatsoever. Being able to deflect or defray even anti-armor weaponry if angled correctly, which would be very easy for such a swift robot, they can sustain damage that would snuff out the lives of even a half-dozen Astartes. With rapid reaction systems and advanced computers, it is a nasty little piece of work. The cybernetic cortex engrams of this unit were deadly indeed. Some might err on the side of calling them vicious. They were killers designed to hunt down mutants and other rogue elements in the labyrinths and sand dunes of the Red Planet. Now the Mechanicum were not so dull as to ever trust something so filled with hate. Some consider them just one wrong step from being abominable intelligence, or at least mimicking the activities that define that hated sentience. Thus they were riddled with secondary commands and override cantons to shut them down. Kill switches in abundance. And that alone should give you some idea of how dangerous they could be when deployed effectively against the correct targets. In battle, they swept forward, hunting and tracking the enemies of the Mechanicum, slaughtering skirmishing and scouting forces with such effect that they would seem to simply disappear from their commanders' scopes. When released into a hive or manufactorum, they would be death incarnate. Faster than a human, rivaling the reactions of an Astartes, they were known to be as accurate as the Marines in firing as well. Yet, even should you survive their shooting, they were no lesser in close quarters combat. With combat protocols to match the skills of a legionary, they are as fast and skilled with the use of their blades and bulk. With strength many times that of an Astartes, they could bully near any opponent. Their outer armor and reinforced structure gave them resilience equivalent to power armor. Each Vorax has a rotor cannon on each of its arms. This means that they have the firepower of a chain gun, able to tear through light infantry and civilians. Culling missions from these nightmares are able to create stacks of dead bodies in nanoseconds. But that is not all. Oh no. On the top of the chassis is a lightning gun. Able to fire out bursts of electricity that will fry most enemies, they can also fire concentrated blasts that can even damage, if not destroy, light to mid-armored vehicles, and do substantial damage to even dreadnoughts. Yet, horrifically, there is even more. When they close with their targets, they also have twinned power blade arrays. Discs with serrated edges like a buzzsaw, able to cut through even ceramite when angled correctly. They can sever arms and legs as easily as a chainsaw goes through dandelions. With battle engrams that permit them to unleash flurries of attacks in close combat, they can munch and hack their way through even squads of Astartes if they get the drop on them. During the Great Crusade, they were deployed as scouts and skirmishers. During garrison duties, they could be ordered to cull civilian populations. Alas, this sometimes came to pass even on the Red Planet and other Forge worlds, when the human serf population rose too high and threatened to disrupt the finely balanced pre-arranged patterns for sustaining the Forge. They would be released to annihilate swathes of its human denizens. Population control at its most mechanical and most grisly. Alas, the Age of Darkness, the terrible civil war that was the Horus Heresy, destroyed so many Forge worlds and fanes that they lost the ability to match their production and technological know-how of the Great Crusade. Perhaps the Mechanicum could still create them at a push, but the atomantic shielding alone would cause such a strain on resources and capability that the Priests of Mars moved production to more easily sustained patterns and projects. They are now a thing of the past. Yet, should push come to shove, and the Mechanicus be threatened, then maybe, just maybe, their combat coefficient might prevail on the Mechanicus to resurrect these horrors. I can see them being quite a handful for many enemies of humanity, the Necrons and Tyranids not being the least threats they could be deployed against, and to very great effect. And now we come to the discussion, because it happened again. And what, pray tell, is it, one might wonder? Well, while having a rare break from reading and forging videos, I had the fortune to play a game of Horus Heresy, possibly last one of this edition, and it happened. For the atomantic shielding of the Vorax is both a blessing and a curse. Granting the wee horrors an invulnerable save sounds meaty, does it not? For it gives them the potential to shrug off even lance cannon fire if Nuffle, Lord of Luck, is with you. But there is a price to be paid for every boon, and this, hilariously, is the issue. When one of these buggers loses all of its wounds, they can then explode. It may not be too large a blast, nor too deadly, but can be truly entertaining, and mostly for your opponent. And when you are hit with a massive template weapon, It can knock off wounds off all of your unit. Then another bright spark just focuses down on one or two of your unit and forces them to explode. Alas, when this happens, they can catch their own squad mates in the blast, thus creating a cascading avalanche of popping automata. And I have to admit, I have fielded this unit 4 times now, and they have never failed to explode like this. Now, this can be used, as one of the instances was my first foray into deploying them. So I charged them into a set of cataphractii terminators just to see what they could do. For stats do not tell the entire story, so I like to really put new models and units through their paces. And in this instance, the adversary's terminators diced them nicely, of course. Yet when each of them went down, they blew. Although they did not neutralize the entire cataphractii squad, they took down a fair few of the terminators I sent them against, thus reducing them to a shadow of their threat to the rest of my army. So my opponents now fear these blighters for very good cause. They can eat through light infantry at range, harry and pin even space marines, plink hull points off vehicles and annihilate Astartes in close combat. They really are a near-perfect all-rounder unit. Well, if you overlook the popping issue. Alas, I have to admit, I do not really like the models, nor the cost nor materials they are made of at present. I like plastic, and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny. When you spend so much time painting up your models and drop them, then they shatter. You learn to hate resin. So my group has allowed me to proxy them for one of my favourite models in the entire Warhammer range, the mechanized Ambots from Necromunda. I just adore them. Perhaps it is a throwback to the ABC warriors in style and bearing, but I do adore the models. They're the same size and base, so why the heck not? And that, I believe, is the key to why I enjoy playing with my particular group. For when it comes to proxies, as long as it does not give ridiculous or calculated advantage, we always say, yes. We invoke the rule of cool. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. Like and subscribe, tip if I've earned your bounty, and do check out the video description for other entertainment opportunities and codes to make savings on games. But most importantly of all, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.